Hello, I'm Andrew Hamilton, President of NYU. I'm delighted to say a few words to the outstanding Global Liberal Studies class of 2020. Class of 2020, I know that this is not the way we hoped to celebrate this milestone in your lives. But although our format today is virtual, our pride in you could not be more real. The pandemic in no way diminishes your spectacular achievements. Among your many honors is a Fulbright and NYU's first ever Mitchell Scholarship. And each of you has completed a demanding course of study, culminating in your capstone project. But even beyond academics, I am deeply proud of the global liberal studies community. No doubt about it, this past semester has been filled with challenges galore, and you have met them with forbearance and creativity. Class of 2020, it may feel ironic to be graduating from a devotedly global program at a time when many of us have been forced to retreat behind borders. But if anything will help the world heal and move forward, it is collective, interdisciplinary, global action. Action from engaged, culturally fluent citizens with a shared sense of purpose. And that is exactly what you offer the world. The same skills that you developed as global liberal studies students will help you make a lasting difference as graduates. So on behalf of the entire NYU community, class of 2020, warmest congratulations to you all and our very best wishes.
Every generation of students has its own defining music, slang, clothing, style, media, and mediums of interaction. Its own defining movements like Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Occupy Wall Street, or defining issues such as climate change, gender nonconformity, mass incarceration, and immigration justice, and sometimes wars and pandemics. You, the class of 2020, will define your generation in many ways, but one will certainly be COVID-19 pandemic. This insidious virus has and will continue to affect all of you differently, but it is a defining moment, and one that you have faced individually and as colleagues and classmates with amazing courage, compassion, and resilience, as well as disappointment, anger, and loss. One of my classmates from my senior class in college shared the following quote with me by William Faulkner just last evening. Quote, "You cannot swim for new horizons until you have the courage to lose sight of the shore." Unquote. COVID-19 presents us with numerous challenges and unknown shores. But I believe that you have the knowledge, intellectual and creative resources, strength, humanity, and bravery to head out in this uncertainty for new horizons and achieve beyond your expectations. Your GLS journey has prepared you. It's been a challenging and exciting one, on the square and abroad. You've distinguished yourselves as global citizens and scholars, artists, poets, writers, and filmmakers, committed to making our world a better place. You've explored New York City and cities around NYU's global network, from museums and galleries to memorials and marketplaces. You've protested and spoken out on critical issues and listened and engaged with ideas different than your own. You've learned to question, to experiment, innovate, and search for meaning in complex texts, in engagement with others, and through new technologies. You struggled through difficult moments and succeeded in breaking barriers, showing us your resilience and finding strengths and talents you didn't know that you had. I am so impressed with what I have seen of your senior theses. Your knowledge, critical analyses, creativity, sensitivity, and humor. You are already making a mark in the world, and I'm looking forward to seeing where you go. As you take your next steps as professionals in the workplace, as scholars continuing your education, as travelers continuing your journeys, and as engaged members of multiple communities, you will take with you the wisdom of your professors, the laughter and tears you shared with your friends and classmates, the knowledge you gained from your classes, and the lessons that you taught yourself. And yes, the lessons of this pandemic. Please keep your passion, intellectual curiosity, and concern for others alive, and make the most of all of your experiences. And please stay tuned for information about our in-person commencements next year, both GLS and university-wide. Congratulations to our GLS class of 2020 and my best wishes. I hope to see you soon in person.
Congratulations! My name is Ariel Felshen. I am a member of the first graduating class of Global Liberal Studies. I am currently an attorney. I work at a law firm called Arnold & Porter. Some of the things I've worked on in the past year are I went to trial with Planned Parenthood on a pro bono case. I've worked on a case with a big art house, and I've done a bunch of other big litigation-focused things. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give to somebody as they graduate is no one really ever has everything figured out. And I hope you don't feel the stress of feeling like you have to have everything figured out right now. In my own career, there have been 3 major things that I never expected to happen that have probably been the 3 best things I ever did. When I was graduating, I felt like I went rogue. I mean, I became a teacher. That was completely different than any bit. I studied international development and Chinese, and then I ended up becoming a teacher in a New York City public school system. I also never anticipated that I would apply to go to law school. I was teaching and I felt like my efforts weren't really going as far as I wanted. I went to American University in Washington and surprisingly liked it so much that I did really well. Then I transferred to Columbia and all of these other opportunities opened up that I wasn't anticipating. I was never expecting to go to a big law firm, and I would even be able to go to trial for a big reproductive rights case I've always wanted to work on. I didn't have any of that figured out whatsoever. I just sort of kept my head down and did things that I thought were exciting. And it's easy to put a bow on it later. As you go on into this new time, everything seems uncertain, but surprising things are around every corner, and you're gonna acquire those amazing opportunities. Congratulations to you. And on that, of things you never anticipated, I never thought I would be able to have the opportunity to give the commencement speech, and I also never thought I would do it in my sweatpants.
Global Liberal Studies Class of 2020, esteemed faculty, and family and friends who made this all possible. My name is Madison Desmaisons, and I'm so excited and honored to be speaking to you today. Though I would have loved for us to be able to talk in person, I'm so grateful to the amazing Liberal Studies staff who made it possible for me to share my message and reflections with you in some way. I think it's exactly this type of adaptability and perseverance that makes the Class of 2020 and GLS students in general so unique. Upon beginning my GLS journey in 2016, I knew I was in for a lot of big changes. However, as I began to meet other GLS students from across the globe, I found comfort in knowing that there were plenty of other people like me. During orientation, I met students from Germany, China, Turkey, and even one from Arizona like me. None of us really knew what we were getting in for throughout the next 4 years, but during orientation, we learned that it would be interdisciplinary, that we weren't 100% sure what that meant. It would be global, and it would be entirely unique. Though we were coming from different cities, states, and countries, we quickly realized that we had some things in common. We were all willing to ship ourselves far away from home, to New York City and to our first-year away sites. We believed in the importance of small, discussion-based classrooms, and we all had a genuine curiosity for others. As we settled into freshman year at NYU, in New York and abroad, we began to understand the rhythm of what it means to be a GLS student. For me, it means 3 things. Number 1, identifying whether you're more of a social foundations or cultural foundations person. Number 2, agonizing over how to decide on a junior year away site. And number 3, explaining to every single person you meet what GLS actually is. This third point was always the most difficult, as we were learning what GLS was for ourselves. One of the things that has always stood out about GLS in my eyes is the ability to take learning outside of the classroom. In my Cultural Foundations 2 course, Professor Carpenter took us to see Sleep No More, an interactive theater performance inspired by Macbeth, and to a midnight reading of Dante's Inferno. In Environmental Studies, Professor Douglas brought us to the Natural History Museum and to retail locations of Starbucks and Patagonia, which we had studied in class. These opportunities to engage with texts and topics outside of the classroom really made GLS special. They showcased the relevance of what we were learning, as well as the dedication of our professors. The biggest example of this hands-on, real-life learning came during our junior year. The GLS Junior Year Study Away opportunity was, for me, one of the biggest draws of the program. I was eager to learn a new language, push outside my boundaries, and embark on a once-in-a-lifetime experience. As I departed for Florence, Italy, my GLS classmates headed to places like Buenos Aires, London, Madrid, Paris, Berlin, Tel Aviv, Accra, and Shanghai. In these new homes, we grappled with topics like globalization, tourism, and politics. We engaged directly with art and history that we had learned about throughout the liberal studies curriculum. And most importantly, we created and joined communities. Through the work of our amazing coordinators at the study abroad sites, GLS juniors were able to find internships and research projects to engage with in each city. Students volunteered at local consulting firms, helped in local women's shelters, and engaged with local tech startups, among a variety of other meaningful roles. As we returned to New York, we were greeted by the familiarity of Washington Square and the existential dread that is the GLS thesis. This past year, I've been so intrigued by the vast range of topics that students have dedicated their time and effort into researching, creating, and curating. From sexual assault training on campus, to the Falkland Islands, to the intricacies of the Catholic Church, GLS thesis topics are as diverse and complex as the students they stem from. This spread also reflects the interdisciplinary nature and the flexibility of the Global Liberal Studies program. We were all given the strong liberal studies foundation to empower our critical thinking and then allowed to blossom and explore in our individual areas of interest. Having a college career bookended by a major national election and a global pandemic, I would say that the class of 2020 has truly seen it all and will come out better for it. We're a group of resilient, inquisitive, and outspoken young adults. We've been guided by amazing professors, administrators, mentors, and site staff, and to them, we owe our greatest thanks. We also have our generous families and friends to thank for encouraging us to live and dream farther and wider than most could imagine. As we say a socially distanced goodbye to our time at NYU and our GLS family, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for making these past 4 years so formative. I genuinely look forward to celebrating with you all in person very soon. Thank you.
Hey everybody, hope you're all staying safe. This is not your traditional commencement speech. Really, it can't be. There's nothing traditional about it. We've been separated, forced to say goodbye, abandoned parts of our lives. College has been effectively cut short, and we find ourselves miles and miles apart amidst of a moment that should be about communion. Still, the community doesn't just disappear because of distance. Being part of a community means existing with bonds. And for us, these are bonds of friendship, of new family. They give us a sense of belonging, a sense of pride, and a sense of home. Their general setup may fade with time, but the memories and feelings they engender do not. Whatever we may lose in direct intimacy with distance, we also gain in psychological proximity. Because while physically separated, we are going through this and will come out of this together. It means that our suffering, albeit different, is shared. It means that our sadness can be shared and our triumph will be shared as well. Many of us have grieved during this pandemic, and this kind of grief is beyond the imaginable, and it certainly shouldn't be transpiring in isolation. Yet, it doesn't have to split us apart, because our bonds reach far beyond the boundaries suffering and death can put between us. As a community, we share your grief as much as we can, as our thoughts and prayers echo still to you. In this sort of limbo we find ourselves, the outside world touches us less and less, it seems, with each passing day. And all we really have is social connection. And strangely, it seems these may have been magnified in some ways. I mean, think about it. There's no walking down to the coffee shop, there's no getting caught in the rain, no strutting down to the subway or coming up right in Union Square. All there is are the things we do at home, and the friends we see online. And there's a lot of weight to that. Because all the interactions we have with our friends and families now seem to be interactions we actively choose to have. The more formal aspects of society have crumbled in front of our eyes, and with every choice we make, we renew our vows of friendship, our vows of love, that only months ago would have been casual encounters, blown-off dates, misconnections. This virus has caused us a lot of harm, and there's nothing that can diminish that. But it's also given us choice. As paradoxical as that sounds, a choice to be present, for our families, for our friends, for our community, and for ourselves. But again, it doesn't mean it's not going to hurt, and there's a lot of suffering to go around, the least of which is that we miss our lives. We do. We miss the simplest things, like the smell of cigarettes right as we walk out of bulbs, or the faint sound of jazz coming from Washington Square Park. And we also miss the bad things, the damp heat of May in the subway as we wait for a train that's never going to come, or the cold wind howling at our feet, freezing our ears as we run to those dire Mercer classes. Hell, we miss school, when a few months ago we were all complaining about how done we were with college. But I don't want to focus too much on what we're losing right now, in the present, and end up ignoring what we gained from the past, and what's still to gain in the future. There's this word in Portuguese, saudade. Saudade, in its simplest form, comprises feelings of longing and nostalgia for an event, a person, a place in the past. But in truth, saudade isn't just nostalgia, nor is it simply longing or melancholy. These words are far too focused on the past to be satisfactory descriptors. In truth, saudade focuses just as much on what is and what will be as it does on what was. When you feel it, saudade transcends linguistic boundaries of time. You crave for an earlier experience while anticipating the moment of its re-experience. It happens in the present as a longing for the past and a yearning for the future. Saudade, in all its subjectivity, aches for a breaking with traditional barriers of time. The past elicits a continuing influence in the molding of our present, and in aching for the future return, we shape our lives through a melange of all three time cycles. In some African and Latin American countries, time itself is expressed in a more cyclical fashion. An inherent simultaneity of life's time periods is echoed through the works of Mia Couto and Gabriel Garcia Marquez, for example. Couto is one of the great contemporary African writers, opened his book A River Called Time with these lines: "Death is like her belly button. However much inside of her exists is her scar, the memory of a previous existence." Maybe we should think of this moment we're experiencing, and even graduation itself, as just that. Not simply the jumping off point to the next cycle, but truly the connective tissue between our existences. So what do I mean with all this? What I'm saying is that we haven't actually lost our lives. We haven't lost our college experiences, and we haven't lost our most precious memories. And we haven't lost tomorrow. Even though we are stuck right now, even though school is ending in a way none of us could have expected, our time at NYU doesn't have to end. In our saudade for all the moments we shared, this phase of our lives lives on, side by side with all the next steps we will soon take, all the new cycles we're about to embark on. The memories we've created these almost 4 years, the friends we found, the loves we've lost, the knowledge, and all the experiences we've gained will forever echo within us, providing support for the present and guidance for a future that despite everything is still promised to us. So yes, this moment ends today and gives rise to a new beginning tomorrow. But it does not die, it simply opens up a well of memories, a belly button connecting our existences. You know, if this were a traditional commencement speech, right about now would be a great time to recall some old memory, probably from freshman year, maybe Cultural Foundations 1 or something like that. I could tell you about the myth of Phaeton, for example. Remember him? About how he wanted to drive the sun god's chariot, his father's chariot. I would then tell that as Phaeton began his flight, the horses failed to perceive the weight change, and uncontrollable the chariot fell, taking his life. I'll tell you about his epitaph too, which read, "Here Phaeton lies, when the sun god's chariot fared, and though greatly he failed, more greatly he dared." And finally, I remember that back then, in Cultural Foundations, too often the discussion veered towards Phaeton's hubris, his fatal flaw, as we forgot to toast how inspired his attempt really was. But this isn't a regular commencement speech, so I'm not going to tell you all that. Instead, I'll just tell you this. We have been given a great challenge, greater than what any of us could have imagined when we first started school. And how we choose to go about it, how we decide to go out into the world after all this is said and done, will determine much more than just our lives. Things don't have to be like they used to, and our generation now has a chance to drive our message home, to move for change in a way we weren't allowed. It's a moment to take action, and we have been given choice. But first we have to dare. Look, we could just feel sorry for ourselves. We have the perfect excuse, and honestly no one could really blame us. But that's just not what our generation is about. We've been fighting for change for a long time. We've been trying to claim back ownership of a world we so many times felt subjugated to, and we're not going to stop now. Contentment and innocence may have curtailed our efforts in the past, but this virus has served to show many people that the ways of our fathers are not right for the future. Our future, like our present and like our past, can still be truly ours, though only if we dare make it so. Phaeton dared, and though he may have failed, his attempt is forever immortalized as greater than his fall. We may dare too, and we should dare too, because if we dare together, we too will be immortalized at the end of it all, and not because of our fall. Thank you.